All right, welcome back to another edition of Three DGens podcast. My man Jack is smashing a rain at 9:45 at night, not getting any sleep. He's too excited for the Texas game this week.
Yes, I am.
Little recap on the week in college football. We'll get in first. Grace went 4-1. Good week there. Jack went 2-3, and I went 3-2. Yeah, no, to Jack, I got over 500. Come on.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, no more
No,
odd
that was
spreads for
Jack.
me.
Yeah, Jack's done with alt spreads, hopefully. The total standings right now, I'm 18-9 plus right under 9 units, and Grayson and Jack are both 13, 11, and 1, just under 1 unit. But in the green, with momentum, we're moving forward. 5 best plays. Who wants to start us off with their 5th best play? Actually, Grayson, start us off. We know where you're going.
I'm off the wagon. It finally
It
occurred to me that no, I'm just kidding. Colorado minus 4.5. They're losing outright in Arizona State. Drew Pine sucks. So is his backup quarterback. The ghost of Herm Edwards is a better coach than Dion. Give me Colorado minus 4.5 just so they lose.
I actually like Colorado minus 4.5. I'm not gonna lie, but they don't have Travis Hunter, so could be a trap line. I don't know why, and I hate using that term trap line, but I looked at at FanDuel as we were driving back from the game tonight, and I was like, dude, half of these games look like traps. I don't like the UCLA Washington State game. I don't know if one of y'all have a play on it, but okay, we won't talk about it. Grayson will get into it later, but like that game just like blaring red lights at me. We knew Grayson was going there. So, Jack, what's your 5th play of the week
My
here?
5th best play. Let's go. Coming to Louisville. I'm taking Notre Dame. I'm minus 6.5 against Louisville. I mean, Notre Dame offensively hasn't shocked me or really wowed me the last 2 weeks against Ohio State and Duke. Granted, those are 2 solid teams, and luckily Notre Dame pulled it out last week. Louisville is another ranked opponent. I don't think they're definitely not as good as the aforementioned teams of Notre Dame and Ohio State. I think Notre Dame is better offensive. I think they'll go back to running the ball. I think they get their 2 receivers back too. They get Greathouse and Thomas back, which is going to be huge for them. Their tight end, Mitchell Evans, kind of had it coming out last week against Duke, which is, I think, huge for his confidence. I mean, Louisville's schedule, they really haven't played anybody. I mean, they're undefeated, but they've played, Georgia Tech, Murray State, Indiana, BC, and NC State. And they played NC State close. And didn't Notre Dame play NC State? No.
Yeah, that game was not close.
Yeah.
Notre Dame won 45 by 20 by 21. So they have a common opponent, and Louisville won by 3. Notre Dame won by 21. So I'm just giving the Notre Dame minus 6.5. Not going to say guaranteed. Not going to say anything else. Not going to alt spread that. I'm keeping that what the book had at minus 6.5. But if you're unlike me and you want to take an alt spread, go ahead. I just won't be taking it tonight for record purposes.
There is a reason that sportsbooks in Las Vegas are not bamboo huts; they're billion-dollar buildings, and it's because of things like alt spreads. Like the plus money is tempting. You think, well, if I float around a key number, what's the harm? And then college kickers happen, and just in general, college football
Let's
is
just say
relatively sharp.
that with the weekend I had last week, if I worked at FanDuel, I'd be fired.
Yeah.
Monday,
Yeah,
I'd try to go in the office, and the door would be locked. My key fob would not work.
Jamal Adams and Hard Knocks.
Jamal Adams, yeah. I don't hate that play. I just get a little nervous when it's on the road at Louisville. They're going to come out ready to play. The NC State game with Louisville, NC State plays really good at home. Their defense is really good. Tony Gibson, West Virginia University past defensive coordinator, but he's also from Southern West Virginia. He's like from a town right over the mountain from me, so always got to support him. I don't hate the play, though. I kind of was looking at it for my 5th play.
See, the only thing is Notre Dame went into NC State and whooped that ass. So Yeah, they may play good at home, but like Louisville win at home and they only scored 13. Notre Dame went into NC State and put up 45, and it wasn't close.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I get that, especially with common opponents. My fifth play, I'm gonna go up to New York and West Point. Go Army, beat Navy. Army -3 against Boston College. It's an ugly play. I mean, nobody really wants to bet on these type of games, but Boston College is bad. I mean, they almost lost to Holy Cross. They played well against Florida State. I think that was. I mean, it's the red bandana game. Florida State. Isn't that the game where Jordan Travis got hurt his shoulder?
Yes.
Yeah.
mhm.
So I mean, Jordan Travis hurts his shoulder, so he's not 100%. And then also, it's kind of a look at spot for him, so it's more of a trap game. So I mean, I like Army -3. They're starting to throw the ball a lot more, so their offense is a little more prolific and get some more points. So that's my fifth play of the week there.
I don't hate it, but definitely did not look at that game. Could care less.
Yeah, no, I'm with Jack.
Yeah, that's fair. I have some family that lives 5 minutes from West Point, so I've went and watched a game there a time or two. It's pretty fun. It's a good environment, especially being in West Point. I like it even more, and the fact that it's under a touchdown, I love it personally. But it is only my fifth play. So moving on into the fourth, Jack, start us off there.
So this is a team I alt spread last week, and they should have covered, and they decided to let Colorado just score at will the second half of the game. So not touching the alt spread again, but I'm actually going to take Arizona plus 21.5. I think so. USC opened, I think, at 21.5 favorites minus against Colorado last week, and they should beat Arizona, and that's not the issue. I mean, their defense, I think, is still sus. What we saw with that defense, I think they are the third best team in the Pac-12 behind Oregon and Washington. They're more complete teams. Arizona, yeah, isn't a great team, but they just lost at home by 7 to Washington, who arguably has just as good, if not better, offense than USC does. So they can keep it. They can play defense relatively close to that game. I feel like that'll be great for us for this 3 touchdown spread that USC opens as. And well, like I said, USC's defense is sus. Maybe Arizona takes a couple in. I mean, Arizona's averaging, give or take 20 some points a game. Keep it, 42-21, something like that. Or that'd be 21 exact, but whatever. You get the point. Sneak in late, like a backdoor cover here, but I'm taking Arizona plus 21.5.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona, even sans QB1 last week, broke my heart in the late night teaser leg, scored against Washington inside 90 seconds left in that game. So there is precedent there for the late cover for sure.
Yeah. Also, I mean, USC likes to destroy bad teams. When they play bad teams, they like to put up big numbers. I think.
Yeah, but Colorado's a bad team.
I mean, they beat San Jose State 56-28, so they destroyed them on one side of the ball is the issue.
Yeah, their defense is not great. So
I mean, Arizona can hold Washington to 31, which Washington, as prior to last week, was just rolling teams.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was a fluke game for Washington, but man, it gives me hope.
Get that. Grayson, what's your fourth play?
It's a gross one. It's in the SEC. It's a bad team. It's a good quarterback. It's a worse coach. Arkansas plus 11.5, going to the Grove, playing Ole Miss off of Lane Kiffin's first career big win. It was in just wild fashion last week. I think that there's going to be a bit of a hangover from Ole Miss. Arkansas, like I mentioned, led by KJ Jefferson. They're going to need to keep this on the ground, shorten the game, maybe get a couple turnovers from Jackson Dart in a fall flat spot potentially. I don't think Arkansas has any prayer winning this game outright. I just think they can keep it within 2 scores. I don't necessarily hate it as a teaser leg. Getting it up above 17.5 gives you almost 3 scores of wiggle room there. But I think Arkansas can keep it just inside single digits, maybe lose by 10, something like, even 35-24, you get there with the hook if you can get it. So I'd shop around there if you don't see it the first place you look. But I just think that Arkansas at some point is going to have a game from KJ Jefferson that keeps them in a game they probably shouldn't be. It didn't happen against A&M. I was on the right side of that. They fell to Auburn as well in like a close game, I believe. I'm getting schedules mixed up here. But bottom line, Arkansas is not great, but Ole Miss has really not been in this position before, coming off win of that magnitude, especially with any Lane Kiffin coach team. So more just a fade of Ole Miss in general, and they're getting a bit too much hype, although they did beat LSU. So it's deserved to a point, but I think Arkansas humbles them a bit and at least covers the number at 11.5.
Yeah, I won't lie. When I was going through like the slate as a whole, just looking at it, especially early in the week, I thought that number was a little big. Just like so large. Like I know Ole Miss is good. I think they're the better team, but I think it's just more of an overreaction to their win. Arkansas has enough firepower. It's just can they put it together, in my opinion. I like that. You got any thoughts there, Jack, before I jump into my fourth?
No, I didn't really look at that game. I'm not gonna lie.
It's okay.
I don't hate it though.
Is Ohio State minus 10.5 first half. Maryland's offense does look good, and I know that can be a little scary. I do trust Ohio State's defense. I think their defense is solid. I mean, they played well against Notre Dame. They played really good. But the thing is Maryland just does not play well in the Horseshoe. They have not kept it within 39 in the past 3 games there. I think last time they played, I had it pulled up here at Ohio in Columbus, it was 66-17. The time before that, it was 73-14. And the time before that, it was 62-14. And I mean, in 2021, when they lost 66-17, like they had a decent offense then. It wasn't like they were just slouches. I know they weren't great, but also, I guess you could make the counterpoint that Ohio State had a super prolific offense. So that scares me maybe a little bit, but I think Ohio State's defense can do enough to slow them down and get 10.5 first half.
Don't hate that play. To kind of pull in what Dan says, my boy Dan, what he might come on. He says, and I quote, Ohio State beats Maryland by 50.
Yeah.
Like you
so
said,
it's all spread, right? Am I hearing that right?
All spread.
I didn't take it. I had not taken it, but I didn't touch this game. But because I think Ohio State's 1-4 or 2-3 against the spread this year.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
So like the first half is a good play, but like you were saying, Maryland historically does not play well against really Ohio State in general. Ignore the fact at Ohio State. So love the play, just didn't touch the game because I can't trust Ohio State until they show me otherwise.
That's fair. I do think that McCord has taken the right steps. I mean, he stepped up and made big throws in big times, especially in that Notre Dame game. But I that was my only issue. That's kind of where I went first half. Also, Khalil Herbert may have just tore his ACL. I'm a little behind, I think, but that was gross to watch. It kind of distracted me in the middle of my – I'm not going to lie.
He was already getting evaluated for concussion. That's bad.
Yeah, that looked rough. But Grayson, any thoughts there? And then your third play.
I've yet to hear a pick I don't like. I tried the short the number approach to Ohio State last season, and they burned me like 4 times, and I finally decided that was enough, so I quit doing it. But I mean, sticking on the theme of your favorite teams, I'm going to be on the other side of one though. Florida State minus 23.5 off a bye week and a win against my Clemson Tigers is playing Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is bad. I know that because Marshall is not good. Marshall beat them outright. So, give me the Noles. Big. We mentioned the red bandana environment in Chestnut Hill and Boston College 2 weeks ago now. They struggled mightily. Jordan Travis a little bit dinged up. That kind of led to some general college football chaos up in Massachusetts. But the Florida State team survived that. Jordan Travis on the mend. They beat a tough Clemson team in a tough environment, a game that had eluded them as far as an outright win for almost a decade. So they got that demon exercised, and I don't think that they're going to find much resistance from the Hokies, especially on the road. There will be no inner Sandman. They will have every advantage on the field you can think of. They'll have their own Tallahassee environment on their side, and I just feel for Virginia Tech fans who decided to turn this game on and watch more than a quarter because I don't think it's going to be pretty. This would be the game I think could be 50 points. I don't think that lowly of Virginia Tech or that highly of Florida State, but I think this one's closer to 30 than the 24.
Yeah, I like that. I think Virginia Tech is bad. They have looked a little bit better with drones. I will say that, but
that's true. Yeah.
But I don't think that their defense is up to par, especially giving FSU they had last week off, right? Yeah, giving them a week off to prepare, get rested, and get healed up, especially Jordan Travis as a whole or in general. I like that play. Jack, your thoughts, and then your third play, sir.
I like that play. Like we said, I think VTech is not great this year, and our friend, or one of our close friends, he's not having a good time this year. So,
anyways, Jack, your third play, please, sir.
My third play is a teaser. It's Bama and Georgia, but it's a 5-point teaser, so it brings it Bama to plus 3.5, and then Georgia to minus 9.5 at plus 105 odds. I mean, that gives room to Bama to lose by 3 and still hit. I mean that's going to the Kyle Field and A&M and College Station is tough. I think Bama should be fine, honestly, because we know it's Jimbo Fisher, and Jimbo Fisher at A&M is in the last 5 years has not been great. And the Georgia-Kentucky game, Georgia kind of concerns me. That 14.5 was a little too much for me for now, based on how Kentucky looked against Florida last week. So kind of bringing that down to minus 9.5, I like it a little more. Plus now with both the odds, you get plus odds. I mean, they're small, but they're plus odds. Makes those games a little more intriguing for me and a little safer than just the spreads that they start out with.
I like it. I really looked at Bama for my short list, just solo. Georgia just doesn't look like Georgia right now. That's the only thing that scares me. And Bama did lose at Texas A&M last year, but I still like both teams. I don't hate it. And any way you can get value out of playing games that you like. I like trying to get plus odds there. So I don't hate that play.
I will say if I had not had a locked-in meme selection with my fifth play, it would have been A&M plus the point. I think that their best player in this matchup last year, a very narrow Bama win, was Jaden Milroe. He played terrible. He was making mistakes, turnovers, everything you could think of that could go wrong did go wrong. Bama did escape that game, I believe. But in College Station, this is not the same Bama team. They're in danger of losing 2 games in 6 weeks, which is just unfathomable in the Saban era, which just speaks to how chaotic this season could truly be and what better mainstay to trip up than Alabama. The Georgia piece of it, they do not look like Georgia. Auburn very well could have beaten them outright last week. So I was a bit surprised to see this number pick up a bit of steam and go over 14. I'm looking at 14.5 as we sit here. I don't think Kentucky's properly evaluated either in the market, so I don't think they're necessarily very good. I was dead wrong about them last week. I was all over Florida, and they got all over Florida very quickly and smothered them. Which, of course, if you've noticed, is Jack's fault. Every play I take that he does just crashes and burns like the Hindenburg. So we have Jack to thank for me not going 5-0. Of course, Jack had a 0 in his record, but it was the second number. But I mean, it was a disaster. I was dead wrong. The SEC is just a different beast as far as how close and how violent some of these middle tier matchups are. But I don't think Georgia has the horses to keep the one by their name, but I also don't think Kentucky, even with Devin Leary, who has been just invisible, can keep up with them necessarily. So no strong opinion on that game, honestly.
Yeah.
Side note, is this the first year potentially SEC does not get a playoff berth? Say Bama loses to A&M, Georgia loses to Kentucky, but Kentucky makes the SEC championship, and then it'd be A&M. Then A&M beats Kentucky. Would that resume be better than, say, undefeated from the other 4?
Yeah, I
Any
mean,
one-loss SEC champion, I don't care if it's Vanderbilt, is making the playoff.
yeah, I would agree with that.
They
I think
just are.
it just depends.
It's yeah.
I think it just depends on every other. Like, I mean, if Michigan's undefeated, if Texas is undefeated, then you got to think
Oregon, Washington.
of like Oregon, Washington. But like Grayson said, if any one loss team from the SEC is making it, I think SEC's best bet is either
How about a 2-loss?
who.
A
That's what
2-loss
I'm
SEC champion.
We've never had a 2-loss team in the playoff.
Yeah.
I believe. I'm like 99% sure. So I mean, a 2-loss SEC champion, I don't know that they have the juice. It depends on how well the losses age, how well their top wins age. If we have multiple 1-loss contenders in the Big Ten, and then we have some not as much carnage out west, and we have an undefeated champion maybe, or a 1-loss runner-up, or somebody in that like Ohio State looking in position to where they sneak in if someone trips up conference championship weekend. Notre Dame also a team to consider. They won't be participating in conference championship weekend at all. So if they're a 1-loss team on the fringe, that's another team that could be in with outside help. So 2-loss I think doesn't get in frankly any conference.
Yeah,
at all.
I agree. I think SEC's best bet is either Georgia win out. I mean, if they have one stumble and then win the championship game, obviously I still think they're in. Or Bama win out and then beat Georgia in the conference championship. If like a Bama 1-loss Bama that beats Georgia in the conference championship, I think they're in. So I don't see. I mean, there has to be so much other stuff happen for an SEC team not to get in this year. But this is the weakest that we've seen the SEC in a long time. I mean, they don't have the top power. They do have like the middle group is a lot closer, but it's also elevated by how bad the top is, I think, in my opinion.
The top has come back to the pack naturally, and I think that's where they're going to run into problems. I would be, frankly, as we sit here on October 5th, stunned if an SEC team won the championship. I mean, we don't often ever see a national championship not featuring a single SEC team, but this could be the year. I mean, obviously, they don't have a playoff team in it. We will not see one, but I think they could be one and done in the semifinal as well if they run into a Texas team or a Big Ten champ or somebody that level. But lots left to sort out.
Yeah, I agree. Good plug in there. My third play, quick and simple. North Carolina and Syracuse over 59.5. North Carolina got Tez back. I think their offense is going to be explosive. Clemson, even though their offense is getting better, put up 31 on Syracuse. Sorry. So I think that means UNC can get close to 40. I don't want to say 40 because I took Oregon and over 43.5, and then they only scored 42 on freaking Stanford. I also think UNC's defense is not great, so I think Syracuse can put up some points, especially after last week. So I like the over 59.5 in that game. But yeah,
I also like that play especially with Tez coming back. I also like the spread in that game too. If you guys at 9.5.
I don't hate doing like a little alt line, UNC down or UNC money line, and then moving that total down a little bit just to try and get positive odds. But I'm gonna stay away from it because I'm trying to keep this train rolling in college football and just stay with some solo plays here for the most part. I do have kind of a crazy one coming up. I texted earlier that I was going berserk in the NFL later, but I also have one coming up in college football. But there's our third plays. I'll just go ahead and do the second play because mine is also going to be fast. LSU Missouri over 64.5. LSU's defense is one of the lowest rated defenses in the league or in the nation. And their offense is one of the best offenses. They're the exact inverse of Iowa. I think Missouri's offense is good enough to get some points, especially on how bad LSU's defense has been. So I like the over 64.5 here, even though LSU did just have a barn burner last week. So there's my second play for the week too.
I'm not touching LSU in it again this rest of the season for now.
It'd be a shootout, but I'm with Jack.
The one time I took the spread, they lost, and then they did hit on the over. So I do like your over pick there, but for now, I'm not touching Brian Kelly in that team.
Fair.
Grayson, what's your second play?
It's more of a trend that I swear has hit more than the alarming rate it has already. But since 2021, unranked favorites have won 14 of 19 meetings with ranked opponents. UCLA finds themselves a 3.5 as I look last point favorite against Washington State on Saturday. So I don't know what it is. It seems like it hits every single time this happens. We see a ranked team as a dog to an unranked team. You think, well, surely the AP poll voters in their infinite wisdom know more than Vegas, which is not true. Brett McMurphy and the rest of those voters are largely stupid. But which is why Georgia's still number one.
Yeah.
But that aside, I think UCLA has a really good team out there. I think they could absolutely play spoiler. I don't know if they're on the level of the contenders, as deep as that conference is. This is certainly a team that qualifies as one that could cause lots of issues for your Washingtons, your Oregons, your USCs, et cetera. And I think, honestly, even as a favorite, and you would think Washington State coming off a big win against Oregon State, and Clemson legend DJ Uyunglele, I think that they're not quite on the top tier either. I think these two teams are pretty comparable. I'm not surprised the spread is close, although you would think obviously a ranked team would be favored over an unranked team because that's just one of those weird mental tricks that we have when we look over, I mean, even from a non-gambling perspective, you see like the ESPN app. But UCLA is at home in this matchup. Home field's worth about 2-3 points typically. So, I mean, it is, like I mentioned before, a pretty close game. Washington State, number 13 in the country. That seems a little high for them. I mean, they're a good team, I have no doubt, but I don't know that they're good enough to go into a peer out west in UCLA and win on the road. So I'll take UCLA, hopefully by 4 to 7 points, hopefully not 3. That hook is scaring me every time I look at it, but I will take UCLA minus 3.5.
I like that play. I mean, that was literally the one that we were talking about where I was like looking at the slate and big red flags came up. I do. It's also kind of crazy, like you said, you mentioned like they're the 13th ranked team and they're underdogs against an unranked. It's not like it's just like 24 or somebody high up there, but I like it. Your thoughts there, Jack, and then your second play for the slate?
I don't hate it either. I think, I don't know, Washington State has Cam Ward. Cam Ward is, like top 7 Heisman right now. Like I said, I think the reason UCLA is favored in this game because it's a home game. Like Grayson said, 3-point cover there. But I think the reason why Washington State is so high is so that if Washington State wins the next 2 games, College Day goes to Oregon for that. For Washington State versus Oregon, they went out, 2 top 10 teams, guaranteed College game day. Get the views. The Pac-12 needs it. Even if so, there's that. But my second play is going back to the boys.
Okay.
OU versus Texas, taking Texas minus 5.5. No alt spreads, not touching anything, taking what the books came out with. Now, ESPN predictors have Oklahoma winning at 54%, which to me is crazy as of right now, just based off strength of schedule Texas has versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma's best team is Cincinnati, and they beat them by like 20-6. Not impressive. And then Texas's best win was obviously at Alabama by 10 and could have scored again. We had the ball with 7 minutes left, but obviously run the clock out. I think Texas on paper, I mean, we saw last year what happened. We trounced them 49-0. Granted, this is a much better Oklahoma team. Has a much better defense under the second year of Venables. Grayson's, goat coach there. But this is also a better Texas team. This is a better Quinn Ewers. We have more weapons, and I think Oklahoma's potential weakness is their secondary, and with the weapons that Texas has, is some of the best weapons in the country. I like Texas. I like Texas by more, but I'm going to stick with the minus 5.5. Honestly, I just want them to win because if they don't, it's going to be a long Sunday for me. So that's my second play.
Longer than last Sunday?
I would take 0-5 Sunday if Texas wins. Don't care.
That's fair. I think Texas is the better team. 6.5. I don't know if it scares me. I don't even know how to feel about it. but I think they're the better team. I think they're way more complete. It's at home, so I don't hate that play.
Yeah, it's 5.5 now. I was really tempted to take Texas. I figured Jack would be on it, and when we're on the same plate,
yeah, you better not take it. You better not take it.
I yielded to Kinghorn Jack himself. I might throw Texas and UCLA a little money line parlay when I wake up Saturday. It's gonna kind of let whatever I'm feeling in the morning guide me through that early slate. But I would not be surprised. Texas is probably better at more than enough positions to get this done. Love Venables. This Oklahoma team has not really been tested, especially to the extent Texas has. Texas in a letdown spot last week. Even sans Jalen Daniels wiped the floor with Kansas. So I think they realize the importance of this game just because of the lack of quality opponents that lie ahead of them in Big 12 play. This is really their last chance to get a marquee win in the regular season, unless we see something crazy with the Big 12 and the teams beyond these two. It's just a two-deep conference, which is something we see in the ACC every couple of years. But I think Texas is going to win the game. Line has dropped a point. It's 5.5 now. Kind of weird, but maybe just some contrarian money there. But yeah, give me the Horns Saturday. I'm with Jack unofficially.
Yeah. Well, Texas is losing, so
my
number one play Oklahoma money line. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. No. I will throw my number one play just because it kind of piggybacks off of it. I hate to do this, but after last week's NFL slate, I kind of got pissed off and just said I'm just doing whatever I feel instead of trying to think it through. I'm throwing a little 3-leg parlay out there. It's going to be Texas money line. I do think they win. Oregon State money line, I think they win. And then just to get it over the even number, USC money line. And that's at plus 101. So Texas, Oregon State, and USC. I don't like putting podcast plays as 3-leg parlays, but you know what? It's worked for me once this year. I'm 1-1 on 3 legs, so I might as well do it.
That is Book It with Larry's top play this week. I can't endure. I mean, Godspeed. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
I hope it hits for the sake of the show and our sprockling reputation as somewhat responsible sports investors. But I cannot truly get behind a 3-leg parlay of any amount, especially if it's with heavy favorites, because I think the dog's going to be barking and biting this week. I've been on favorites most of my picks, which I truly honestly hate. I left Mizzou plus 4.5 off too. Just kind of a bit of a fade of the entirety of that Ole Miss LSU game last week. But like I said, I'm pulling for you, Larry, but I will not be on that officially or on it officially.
With that parlay, dude, FanDuel might follow us just so we give them hella money.
I know. No, I mean, I don't like. I usually, if I take parlays, it's usually off stream. Like I don't endorse them, but I don't know. I went 1-4 last week in the NFL. I mean, I have to change something up. I got to do something. And I was sitting there and I was like trying to think of a way to play Texas because I do think they win. I just don't really like the number. So
no more saying about Texas. We're done with Texas. We're done with Texas.
I think Texas wins. Texas is gonna win. Yep. Quinn Ewers. Hell yeah.
Oh, what a win for Brent Venables that's going to be. Where are we at?
Take us to your number one play.
Yeah, y'all's plays.
Yeah, sure. It's technically the ACC. This team is too chicken shit to actually join the conference other than a COVID year, which Clemson kicked their ass right out of the playoff. Notre Dame, Sam Hartman, Estime, the defense, every other position group they have that's better than Louisville because it's kind of hit all of them. Notre Dame goes to Louisville, a team that has also, like Oklahoma, not been tested too much, but sport a sparkling 5-0 record. They're unranked because they're not that good. Jeff Brom has had this team beating inferior opponents. They played last Friday night against NC State in prime time. They were down 10-0 at halftime and squeaked by 13-10 against the NC State team that I don't think in the eyes of anyone is worthy of a struggle of that magnitude. So Notre Dame struggled with Duke. That's a good team. That's a raucous environment now outside of basketball season, as Clemson learned, as did Notre Dame. Estime scoring with like 30 seconds left to win a thriller there because for some reason Mike Elko decided to drop 8 on a 4th and 16. So Hartman picked up with his legs, and like 2 plays later, Estime scored the decisive touchdown. But this Notre Dame team is battle tested 2 weeks in a row. Very, very tough loss against Ohio State. Bounced back, tough road win. Ugly, but got there. I don't think Louisville's ready for this Notre Dame team. They have not faced a team anywhere close to that. They've scraped by bad teams. So even if they were to try and play up to Notre Dame, I just don't know if they're up to the challenge yet, just given the lack of true tests earlier on in the schedule. But they've turned bad teams into good games, which is never a great sign. So give me Notre Dame -6.5 as my top play this week.
So basically, you taking Notre Dame -6.5, since I took it earlier, means Notre Dame is now losing. Everyone bet Louisville.
Yep. So I actually.
It'll be outright. Yeah.
Yeah. As you were saying that, I actually placed $150 on Louisville money line.
All right. Well, with my number one play, this is for the number one team in the nation. Give me Michigan -18.5 against Minnesota.
Michigan.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not there yet. I'm not gonna say Texas is the number one team. All right. Now this weekend we'll see, but Michigan, I think right now, Michigan. I mean, dude, they haven't given up more than 7. Granted, they haven't really played anybody, but they're beating who they should, and they're demolishing it. Like they've given up 3, 7, 6, 7, 7, and they're winning by an average margin of like a bajillion. And then Minnesota, they beat the same Nebraska team Michigan just beat 13-10. Then Michigan beat 45-7, and then they lost to UNC, and they lost in overtime to Northwestern. And Northwestern blows. So I think -18.5 is extremely generous. Even if it's at Minnesota, I don't care. I think it's extremely generous. Give me JJ McCarthy. Give me Blake Corum. Give me Jim Harbaugh. Give me Michigan.
I like it. Like you said, they're beating teams that they might not be the best competition, but they're beating teams the way they should. And Minnesota is one of those teams that they should. So I'm not against it. Just really anything that's over like 2 touchdowns. It just takes a lot in me to bet a game that's over 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, if I take this, it'll probably be. I mean, I would love to tease them down to 12.5, get them within 2 scores, plus that extra little wiggle room at the point, get under that somewhat of a key number of 13. Michigan also not a team that's been tested. They schedule like a bunch of cowards every year, and then they try and flip a switch. It's why they've never won a playoff game. But Minnesota's not a team they're going to have to flip that switch against. They lost a game bad teams lose last week to Northwestern, like you mentioned. This is in a year of carnage. This is quite the spot for it. I just don't know if Minnesota can revert back to a respectable team after that tough loss last week, at least not in 7 days. Turnovers have been an issue for Michigan. 3 picks against Bowling Green State. I keep harping on that because that's just ridiculous. So things like that, the script of that manner could play into a closer game. But, I mean, Michigan, the defense is going to bail out the offense as it has all year. They haven't given up 10 points yet. So, I mean, if they score 28, they're probably going to cover. And I think that's a pretty safe assumption there. So, personally, I'll probably tease it inside 2 touchdowns just in case we get some weird Big Ten stuff. It is a night game. We have seen that in the past. I mean, there's the year that unranked Purdue beat like number 2 Ohio State by like 30 points. But I don't expect anything close to that here. I think Michigan wins relatively easily as they have throughout the season. But as far as number one, I did not expect that from you.
I can't say. If I would have said some other team, like that's bad juju. So
that's fair.
And Michigan's ahead of Texas in the rankings anyway.
So are you naming the team or are you not naming the team?
No, I'm not naming the team.
Okay.
I mean, Texas is third, but I'm not naming that team as number one. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, there's our 5 best plays. I like the plays this week. Hopefully, Grayson continues his hot streak. Me and Jack get a little turnaround.